Welcome to This Week in Real Estate with Jonathan Harmon and Bryan Nale, your local experts on all things real estate in Middle Tennessee. Listen in as they discuss the current state of the market, the latest trends, and have a little fun while doing it. We do want to say the opinions voiced on this podcast are for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individuals. All right, y'all, we're back. This Week in Real Estate, where we're spilling the tea on DTI.
Spilling the tea. You know, so I made the decision to wear my headphones this time because, quite frankly, I don't like doing this without my headphones. And y'all were all like, last week, we're like, no, don't wear the headphones. And so this week I did. I've never listened to the intro.
Smoking, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. It's outstanding. And we're only allowed to have a little fun.
Yes.
Why?
Because that's what it said.
Yeah.
We're going to have a little fun while we do it.
That's true. I feel like last week we had too much fun.
I know.
Let's dial it back.
Yep. Okay.
Way too much
Serious
fun.
face.
Lock in.
How's this?
Yeah. Where's my camera? Yeah. There you go. That's serious.
Okay. This week in real estate, we will have no fun because we had too much last week. We had to balance it out.
Headlines.
Headlines.
Straight to it. All right, back to you.
Okay. Well, there we go. So, all right, I'm going to go there for just a second. We have to acknowledge there was an assassination attempt on our presumably Republican nominee. Our Democrat nominee has called for unity. So presumably Democrat nominee. None of that is officially official yet. But that's what's going to happen. Yeah. Former president, the race is starting to heat up, and, every single year that there's a presidential election, people kind of hold their breath to see what's going to happen. That's going to, from a real estate perspective, I have a feeling that assassination attempt probably accelerates how quickly people start to wait, if that makes sense. Like, the drama has started early, and so let's see what happens. At the same time, you've got some in the Democratic Party that are trying to do this early roll call vote. Some people theorize that that's to not nominate Joe Biden. Some it might be to secure him as the nominee. It just kind of depends on which direction that goes. So it's starting to get a little crazy already on the political landscape. Some of the state races are nuts here in Tennessee, getting really ugly.
Real chippy out there.
Oh man. And it's exactly. Missy just said it's just primaries on that. So it's still getting a little.
I think some of that, though, is because the primary, and I mean, just call a spade, the primary is a lot of times where the election is won.
Sure.
Because in a lot of these communities, they're going to lean hard one way or the other, Republican or Democrat. So if you win your party's nominee, your likelihood of winning the seat is
pretty
tenfold.
strong.
I mean,
yeah.
And so that's why I think you see that chippiness come out. And it's that infighting within the party that just is.
And then we're supposed to believe that they turn around and are buddies, and
not all the time, man.
I don't know. The political landscape in the U.S., we went to Iceland, and it's just not the same there.
Yeah.
It's just not the same.
We have too much coverage of it, too much for-profit media reported on it that one eyeball's glued to them. So there's too much fear mongering and propaganda for each party in their respective.
Well, and you start to notice like little stuff, right? And I don't want to get into all of that, but there's certain little things. The way that certain media will refer to one person versus a different person that has exactly the same history, Yeah. Anyway, it's just it's crazy. So, man, y'all stay civil out there. The reality is, most of the answers are in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So stay a little less extreme. That would be awesome, and stay friends.
Well, I was talking with Erica Downing this morning at the Chamber of Commerce, and she runs the domestic violence program here in Murfreesboro, and she was talking about how they're really watching their funding because a lot of the funding that they get is from VOCA grants. So VOCA, like, here's Brian with another acronym. What does VOCA mean? It's Victims of Crime Act. And so when you pay a court fine, you pay for whatever you've done. A lot of the fines that are accumulated and those court costs that are accumulated, they'll take that money and they'll put it into a fund to help victims of crime. And I don't know a whole lot about that and the process and everything, but I think that there's been some mismanagement of VOCA funds that she mentioned to me, and this is all hearsay. So if nobody get Erica Downing in trouble for what I'm saying here, because I might have misinterpreted what the message was. But I know from the time that I was working with the domestic violence program on their board that they pay very close attention to which offices or which parties in control, because under certain policies and for certain programs, they'll get more funding for social services than if the other party is in office. And so they watch. So we think about the election, we think about housing, we think about rates, we think about all just the economy. But there's a whole other segment out there that's watching this from looking about their funding of their social services. Are they going to be able to provide the counseling, the sexual assault services, the emergency housing and shelter for victims of domestic violence, and all of these things, and then the ripple effects that these decisions have at the local level and at the national level are so profound.
Well, and I think that's why people get so passionate about it, is because the way that our federal government is at this point, it is so interwoven into so many different things.
Yes.
Into things that some might even argue were never things that the federal government should have gotten involved in. And because of that, whatever your pet passion is, the president is essentially the CEO of one of the world's largest businesses, right? The United States government. You think about how many people are employed by the government. You think about how many different, industries, if you will, programs that the government is involved in. And I mean, that president is the CEO of that. And it's, man, I mean, first of all, what a job.
Right.
Second of all, I can understand why, if you're super passionate, if you're an economist and you're super passionate about the economy, well, that's one aspect. But if you're a tremendous outdoors person, or you make all of your livelihood doing guided tours and stuff like that, well, that's a whole other aspect. And if you're domestic violence and you run that nonprofit, that's a whole, you know what I mean? And it's like, man, if you're a road worker, that's a whole other one. If you're a career soldier, there's a whole other. I mean, it's like, man, they're involved in everything.
Yeah.
So
they touch it all.
Anyways, all right. So that's one headline. We went down the rabbit hole with that one just a little bit, but the other one that I've got, I'm going to go real quick over the June numbers. So these are Rutherford County numbers, single family homes for the month of June. And it's telling a story. The seasonality of the market is here, and this season it went quick. So I tell people usually the spring selling season, if you will, is whenever it gets warm and everybody thinks it's going to stay warm, right? So that could be in Middle Tennessee, that could be March, it could be May. We don't know, right? And this year it was a little slow to start. It really didn't take off until probably mid-May. And it was short. So, I'm not going to say that it's completely over, but it is absolutely on the slowdown already.
What do you see in the data that tells you that?
So new listings, June of 23 to June of 24, they're down 10%. Last year it was 799. This year it was 719. New under contracts are holding flat from last year this time. Active inventory is up. Okay. New under contracts is down 18%. So June of last year, we had 1,036 in the month of June. June of this year, we had 852. So that's down substantially. Inventory is down about 3%. And here's the real telling one, the number of closings. So if you think about it, a closing in June was a contract in May, right? So a contract in May will be a closing in July. I'm going to guess, predicting here, that the month of July will see closings up a little bit because, again, it was later this year. So I think July of last year versus July of this year, I think we'll see that closing number rise. But the trend on the rolling, if that makes sense, on the rolling 12-month is down. So the month of June closings of in 2023, 554. This past year, or this past June, last month, 383.
Wow.
For all of single family in Rutherford County. That's a 31% drop June over June.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. But sales prices are up 8%, which fits the model. What usually happens is we'll see prices start to rise February, March. They'll just slowly start to rise. We see a huge bump, usually in huge, right, relative. May, June. July it'll go flat. August it'll stay flat, and then we'll see it taper off a little bit sometimes in September. This tells me that we'll probably end the year up about 5%. Is what I'm going to predict. So between 4 and 5%, which is the high end of the historical average.
Yeah.
Average is 3 to 4%.
Yeah.
So
with significantly less closings.
Way less closings.
Yeah.
And again, I think new construction, I don't have that number in front of me, but I think new construction is a significant amount of that, which is historically not the case.
Right.
It's significant, but not what it is now. If I look at the rolling 30 days, sales price is only up 4% from May 17th to May 17th, June 16th. June 16th to July 16th, we're up 4% in a 1 month span. So that's slowing down. I predict that will start to fall off just a little bit in the next 2 months. New listings are down 16% in that same 30-day span, and new under contracts are up, but only slightly.
It's interesting because I think we've seen a lot of activity tied very closely to interest rates. And over the last 6 weeks, we've seen interest rates dropping and falling. So you would expect to see more activity. And that might be why you're seeing more listings, because I think you've got folks who are saying, okay, all right, we're ready. Let's go.
And I also think, yes, that's correct. So you've got,
but they've got to have buyers.
Yes, exactly. And I think that we probably will see July numbers slightly better than June numbers, which is a little unusual. But because every stuff went under contract in June, and so now
June's when the inflation reports came out that were very good for interest rates.
So we probably had a little bit of a flurry there, and people trying to get settled before August.
Yeah.
I know for me that's been the case. Several closings in July, and still a couple more to go this month. So we'll see.
Yeah. That's good data, and I think it's important to think about that. So if you're watching this show, if you're sitting around and you're just enthralled with Jonathan and Bryan every week and look forward to hearing what we have to say, you're one of two types of folks. Probably you're either in the business and you're just interested in our take on how things are going, or B, you're interested in making a move and you're wondering what these tea leaves mean for you. So if you're the latter of those examples. What does that mean for somebody right now who's maybe a first-time home buyer and is thinking about buying a house this fall?
Yeah. Prices are still not budging. Okay. And if they do, it's gonna be basically not noticeable on an individual home, right? It's gonna slide by 1% or 2%. And so for each individual home, you still got to do what you got to do. Where you'll see it is if we compare the original list price to the under contract price, because the sales price, when I look at it on here, it doesn't necessarily take into account the original list price. It's only the list price at the time that it went under contract. So we are seeing price reductions. I've had to do a couple just to try to stimulate activity. So from a buyer's perspective, there's people that have speculated on that number going up. They're going to reduce their price, and there's some room to negotiate. Even on new construction, you may not be able to move the price very much, but with a drop in activity like this, you're absolutely going to see incentives that you maybe haven't seen even yet, right? Yeah. Like all your closing costs, no matter which lender you use, those kinds of things, or fences or blinds, or certainly fridges. That's a pretty normal thing now, where it didn't used to be at all in new construction. So stuff like that. I think that's back on the table for sure. And I'm seeing people that have home sale contingencies get contracts accepted. I'm seeing all kinds of buyers and sellers trying to work together again. I think everybody's kind of realized, okay, I got to actually be, negotiable and work with somebody.
I can't just railroad this thing to the closing
Neither
table.
side.
Yeah.
No, we're back. The month supply, we're at 3 months supply. The historical flat is 7.
Yeah.
But compared to where we've been for a long time, hitting that 3 mark, it's going to feel like an even market.
I feel like us hitting 7 months of inventory would feel kind of like
it'd be disastrous.
The chances of us going there are probably as good as us going back to mortgage rates in the 2s. I just don't think that that's coming back. I don't think we have the kind of I don't want to say economy, but the kind of social economy maybe where somebody can take 7 months to sell a house.
Right.
It's just you can't take that long.
People are going to give up faster than that.
Pace of life is too fast for that.
I mean, you think about it, even in 09 and 10 when I got started, even with gazillions of foreclosures and everything like that, our month supply was really only like 8.5, 9. It never, as far as I remember, it didn't hit double digits.
Yeah.
So it was absolutely a buyer's market.
Yeah.
But based on that number, it wasn't like a ridiculously strong buyer's market.
Right. I saw our friend Grant Hammond posted on Facebook today that he thinks if we get to a 5 spot on that months of inventory, that we'll start to see some serious price reductions.
I think that I agree with that.
And I don't know that we'll get to 5.
Well, and here's the thing: what's a serious price reduction? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, are we going to start chipping into the accumulated
the equity
value growth that we've had over the last 3-4 years?
I think at 5 months we might.
Maybe
we could.
Yeah, I think you're going to see it. I think you're going to see it in the equity growth over the last 1 year before you see that.
Yes, and what'll happen is people who are listing a house they'll either be listing it because they would like to move or because they have to. And the ones that would like to aren't going to reduce their prices. They're not going to get.
That's why we still haven't seen that.
Right. And it's the ones who have to that might be a little bit more desperate to sell their home that you'll see that kind of slippage start to creep in. And I just don't think there's going to be a lot of people who have to move. You're always going to have some. There's always going to be some of that.
And if it's a job transfer or something like that, if there's a relocation incentive, a lot of times they'll cover some of that discrepancy.
Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. All right. Yes, it's real. Let's do this. She said, "Holy cow." I'm back to like the one last week. I like this.
Eat more chicken.
Dude.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A. It's a long cow.
Just think of the ribeyes on that bad boy.
That's a long beef tenderloin. Beef tenderloin. Those cabinets are like. I'm gonna look past the obvious. What's going on with the cabinets?
There's a lot
on that back wall.
They're not together.
Yeah,
they're each individual.
I have never seen that.
No, somebody needs a ratchet strap on those bad boys.
Oh, it's so
No. Do you see what it is?
They painted the
look. They painted the boxes, the cabinet boxes.
Yeah,
that's not wall.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Boy, the attention to detail there is incredible.
Like a random wood to the
That's
a lot of cabinet space. Holy cow.
Are there countertops? Look at the two on the end.
Are they glass? They have
just a piece of glass on top.
Is that a?
I don't hate this kitchen, y'all.
It's like a dishwasher on the right side there, and it's got like a.
But it's gigantic.
Yeah, that's huge.
I think it's got a countertop, Jonathan, but it's got like a piece of glass over the countertop, like the one over there on the left.
Two were added to.
Yes, they definitely were.
They look different.
Yeah.
I don't hate the kitchen.
I hate it. I would not live in that. But I've watched enough house hunters to know that I can paint that. Now, it's going to be trickier because I'm going to have to paint the cabinet boxes.
We also appreciate the skyline or the clouds in the sky.
Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah. I mean,
there's no doubt they put attention to detail into this work, but
can't fully support it.
I can't get behind it.
Reminds me of the house that Norris Norris Hall, the one who paints those crazy fish. Oh man, his kitchen was.
You're all right. So you're.
I want a sign that says beef. It's what's for dinner.
I was gonna say. So you're sitting there. You're getting ready to cook some steak. Maybe throw some hamburgers in on or a meatloaf in the oven or some hamburgers on a griddle on top of that stove there, and you're looking at that cow and you're looking at your steak and you're going, I'm gonna eat you,
Dude.
It's kind of like that place you went to in
I was
Iceland.
about to say, we went to this place in Iceland, and there's a cow shed out front, and you can walk in and pet the cows, and then go in and eat its brother or cousin or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's windows into the cow shed with the live cows while you're munching on the burger.
Like a lobster where you can be like, I want that one.
It was It was
like,
awesome.
Hey, I'm gonna come back next week. I want to eat that one.
Yep. And the closest I've ever been to that is when I went to Fort Worth and they ran the cows up the Market Street or whatever it's called, and into the stockyard, and then you can literally go into a restaurant right next to the stockyard and eat one of the cows that just ran by.
I thought they had to like age that meat like a little bit. Like
It was delicious. I think it was as fresh as you could get.
wow. Okay.
Maybe it wasn't that day. Maybe it was yesterday's cow, but
I'm really disappointed there was nothing about being able to move.
it's moving ready.
Dang it. That's actually hilarious.
Yeah. I wonder what kind of butter they use. Do you think they use move over butter? Oh, you guys remember that?
Probably.
Yeah.
Good one. Market movers.
Market move.
Pushing it on the fun level again.
I know it.
Dial it back. Dial it back.
Yeah. If we lose this job, does that mean we're going to have to go moonlighting somewhere?
Oh boy, this is gonna keep going.
Yep.
There's a high demand for podcasters.
I'm telling you.
Especially guys like us.
All right, let's hoof it through market movers.
All right, so next week we've got GDP report coming up. Not a whole lot between now and then. Of course, we always get jobless claims every week, but next week's GDP will be interesting because in the first quarter, GDP grew at 1.3%. Which is a pretty sharp downturn from the fourth quarter of 2023. GDP was, our economy was growing at a rate of 3.4%. So it went from 3.4 in Q4 of last year to 1.3 in Q1 of this year.
Is there a seasonality to that?
There is a little bit of seasonality to that. And so the economists are kind of projecting and predicting for the U.S. GDP to kind of stabilize in the second half of this year. It'll be interesting to see, though, as we see unemployment's as high as it's been since 2021, and other things that have these reports coming out. Some of those are lagging indicators, and so the GDP for the second quarter will be interesting to see where that comes in, and if there's any revisions to the first quarter numbers. And China's GDP is going strong. It's still stronger than what we're seeing in the U.S., but it's also starting to weaken. So we're just hearing more and more and seeing more and more of those recessionary types of things that are leading us to think that the rate cuts are coming sooner rather than later.
I always question when we report numbers from China, for example, how reliable are those numbers, and where do they come from? And look, I'm not the conspiracy guy, but the reality is your inputs are owned by the government, and they're not going to necessarily want to be like, oh, we're going into a recession. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've always wondered where do they come from, and how accurate are those numbers?
You know, I wish I was more prepared to talk about this, but I think there was a large bank in China that over the weekend basically stopped. It closed and it stopped. So I don't know if there was a run on that bank or what it might have been. But as my wife was telling me this, she was just kind of flipping through her phone, and I was sitting there thinking, it's like, well, man, if you're running the Communist Party in China and you don't want that fourth biggest bank to close, don't you just tell them to open up? Like, I'm sorry, I don't care if you don't have any funds. You're going to open. You're going to be business as usual.
Yeah. I don't know. That's interesting. I have a really short market move. That, by the way, that report, that was very smooth, like butter. So
smooth.
Yeah.
All right, Trent, rein us in.
Yep. All right. So my market mover, it's look, we say this and it's crazy, but economics is psychology, sociology, all of that stuff with money. That's all it is. So people, it's emotions tied to their funds, and emotions are affected by trivial things like the weather. So, with the heat wave that we've had, I think that might impact our speed of our market as well.
Yeah.
The housing market. School is always a big part of it. So if you are somebody that has your house listed right now, or you're contemplating it in the near future, just be prepared. It's going to take a little bit longer. And so, watch that weather, be prepared for the school to start up. And if you don't want it to take a long time, if you only want to be on the market a short time, then wait till September.
Yeah.
Is what I would tell you.
Yep.
All right.
Good talk.
Shiny pennies. I have a really, really small shiny penny here. We'll make up some ground on some of the other ones. It was my birthday Sunday.
Yay.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, 45 years old, and we had a good time.
Crowd's going crazy.
That was a long set of
Man,
applause.
we're really happy for you
Yeah,
turning 45.
Yeah, thank you.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
that, all of you.
Everyone.
260 plus Facebook birthday wishes. That's always nice. It did compare to last year. I was up by 3.
Are you checking the percentages?
No percentages,
No, okay.
but the economy hasn't affected Facebook wishes, so that's good.
That's good.
So that was lovely. We had a cruise in here at CGB, and that was a lot of fun to have. We had it right at 40 cars.
Nice.
It was a blast. So, yeah, shiny penny. I'm old.
Awesome. I got one too. And this is not real estate related at all whatsoever, but it's just a kind of a cool thing for our community. We had one of our own
Oh yeah.
get drafted in Major League Baseball. The Kansas City Royals took Drew Beam.
Congrats, Drew.
And again, I was at the Chamber of Commerce earlier this morning, and just being able to see Kelly, who's Drew's mother, and
She's so positive anyway, but man,
Yeah.
does she seem like she's walking just a little bit lighter?
and she's just so, you're so proud, because I mean, and she'd never say it, but her and her husband have raised an incredible couple of kids.
Yeah,
and
no doubt.
And they have been around the family a little bit, and just being able to watch those kids from childhood to where they are now, and it's awesome. It's a really good family, and you love to see that hard work pay off for good folks.
No doubt. Congrats, Drew. Go out there and kill it, man.
Yes, do that.
So I don't own any light blue, but I might go buy some.
There you go.
All right.
Pro tip.
Pro tip.
Sad, unfortunately.
Oh, that's too
Bring
bad.
us
try
home
again.
for a smooth landing.
Oh, he stole it.
Can you play the song "Smooth" by Carlos Santana and
Rob Thomas.
yes,
Hey.
yep.
I was
could.
thinking Smooth Criminal, but
Oh, that's a
works
good one
too.
too. Yeah. All right, so my pro tip's pretty simple. We're going back to the heat, and if you have not done it already, you need to be sealing up your house, and you need to engage your pest control company because when it gets hot, every creepy crawly likes to find somewhere cool, and your house is cool. So whether that's your crawl space, whether it's your the gap on your door, whatever, you're going to have a lot more bugs. You're going to have everything from brown recluses to centipedes to mice to whatever. They're looking for somewhere. Squirrels.
They want to be cold.
They're all looking
cool
for
off.
something cooler. Yep.
Change your filters.
That's the last thing on my list
There
here.
you go.
Yep. Change your air filter. You do not want that unit freezing up, and it will freeze up if you don't get proper airflow.
Yeah.
So definitely change those air filters. Yeah, that's about it.
There you go.
That's all I got.
Love it. Hey man, that's important advice, and I hope
good
people
advice.
take it and listen. And
I'm gonna give you one more pro tip.
bonus.
Oh, bonus pro tip. You ready? I meant to say this at the beginning of the show, but I'm gonna do my best. Okay. Talk fear sittest. Okay, and it means talk Führer. That's it. Talk Führer sittest. Okay, and it means thanks for the last time. Okay, and I wrote about this on Monday, but that's an Icelandic saying. It says thanks for the last time, and basically what it means is when you greet somebody after you see them again, right, the second time, you say that to them, and it's acknowledging that they gave you their time then and enjoyed it enough to give you their time again. So, thanks for the last time, Brian. and may there be many more.
That's
so,
dating advice from Jonathan Harmon.
not dating. This is community building. I am.
It can be dating. It can be community.
I am out of the dating game, so
Yeah.
do not ask me for dating advice. I have no idea why my wife why she married me. I did not deserve that. So anyway, I do not give dating advice ever.
I don't know. Sounds like you're a pro, man. Like you landed Lacey.
Yeah, I
So
think that was a lapse in her judgment.
We should be taking notes.
No, I think that was a lapse in her judgment more than it was a win for me.
She's too smart to make a mistake, dude.
That's true.
Let's give her some credit there.
That's true. That's a good point. All right, that's it.
Good show, guys. Good show. Let's take it out. Thank you for listening to another episode of This Week in Real Estate with Jonathan Harmon and Bryan Nale, your go-to resource for all things real estate in Middle Tennessee. Be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. We will see y'all on the next one.
Now for the nitty-gritty. Primis Mortgage Company is a subsidiary of Primis Bank, a member FDIC. Primis Mortgage NMLS number 1894879, BK number 1042893, ML number 1894879. As always, all loans are subject to credit approval and product guidelines. Equal housing lender.